looking back, you never plan, to be the type of person to have to quit something, right? Parents never raised a quitter type energy. I'm no quitter. Not like in a dramatic way, just I didn't see myself getting caught up in something like that to where I would have to quit. I mean, of course, there's things that you try out and you figure out, okay, that's not for me. But things that you become dedicated to, where quitting is, a big deal. And it's funny because I literally wrote my college senior thesis comparing the NFL to larger tobacco companies, like really sitting there breaking down how neither one fully discloses the real consequences of what they're actually selling. For instance, NFL, CTE, tobacco, cancer. Both fatal outcomes that are possible. I remember feeling so aware while writing this, like, wow, people really don't be knowing what they're signing up for. Whole time, I didn't even realize how that same idea was about to show up in my own life, just packaged differently. When I was in college, actually around the same time, was I even really paying attention? I mean, maybe I was actually dating my son's father at the time, and we used to go to those vape bars that were popping up all over college towns. They were new, trendy, something to do, and I swear they felt like the Chinese food spots in the mall food court. How they be trying to, allow you to try as many samples that you want and hand you those samples. That's exactly how those vape bars would be. They'd give you those little mouthpiece tips, let you sample all the flavors before you picked which one you wanted to buy. And at the time, it didn't feel like anything too serious. We were just there, passing time, blowing O's, clouds everywhere, laughing, just young people doing what youngins do. I didn't even have a vape of my own at this time, and I wasn't really interested in his like that either. He had them big modded vapes, spending money on coils and all that. And I'm just like, that's your thing, I'm just here. But looking back, that's how it starts. Not with intention. Not with, I'm about to get addicted. Just proximity, just being around it. Just it feeling normal. And then somehow along the way, the marketing started to change. And that's when I noticed. Everything got colorful, and poppy, cute. Flavors that even didn't even really sound real. Stuff that didn't even feel like it belonged anywhere near something addictive. And I remember thinking this looks like it's for kids, younger than me. And then I started actually seeing it. People younger than me were vaping. And it hit me shit. Oh, they grew up watching this, watching their older siblings, older cousins, even parents, people they looked up to, blowing smoke like it was nothing, like it was cool. And then that took me all the way back to being a kid when I was in Texas. Running to the ice cream truck, getting them little bubblegum cigarettes, holding them sticks in your mouth like you was grown as hell, blowing out that little powder, thinking you was doing something, before you finally just, ended up chewing and enjoying the piece of gum. We've been playing with the idea of smoking before we even knew what it was. It just looked like something adults did so naturally, and we wanted to do it too. And I think that's when I really started to notice that they didn't have to force anything. They didn't have to make it look good, make it feel normal, make it feel harmless. And somewhere in all that, I started vaping. Not even a big moment. It was a gradual effect over time. I had hit my son's father's, and this is by the time we have already had kids, I had hit his, and when he'd upgrade, I'd take the old one and hit his old one, just casually, not thinking twice about it. And then, when our relationship ended, I started buying my own vape, and that's when it got real, because it wasn't about being around it anymore. It was about it being mine. It was my decision. It was something that I was contributing my funds to at this point. It became my habit. my routine, my way of, taking the edge off of things. And I didn't even really question it like that because it didn't really feel and taste like the cigarettes, or it didn't taste like the black and milds I'll try and go to, when I was trying to be cheap and didn't want to spend like $25 on a nicotine or vape, $25 on a new vape. I mean, hitting a vape was smoother, flavorful, easier to sit with. But I mean, let's be real. They do put the warning right there. They do say nicotine is addictive, and while it may not be a direct, it might not be like the direct cause of cancer like tobacco, but it is a promoter that accelerates the growth of cancer, and it accelerates the development of throat, pancreas, lung, and like mouth cancers, right? Esophageal cancers, right? So just like how they say like weed is the gateway, maybe like nicotine is the gateway to cancer, like in a way, like helps you become addictive. It promotes those addictive behaviors. Anyway, I'm starting to rant. Let me get back on track. Like, it's on the packaging, so it's not like I didn't know. But knowing something and feeling the weight of it, that's two different things, because the way it was presented, the way it looked, the way it tastes, it didn't feel like I was doing something dangerous in the same way. It didn't carry the same heaviness of as smoking a cigarette as it should have. And that's where it gets tricky, because nothing was hidden, but it also wasn't felt, the way it probably should have been. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what the packaging looks like. Nicotine is still nicotine, and addiction doesn't really care, doesn't care at all how cute the packaging is. And that's the part, that I feel like that's where, they got us. Not with the product itself, but with how it's presented. Because anti-smoking campaigns, they worked. You don't always die from tobacco. Man, those, when I was a teenager, those used to be my commercials, and they would keep us, like, get connected for free. Okay, as you can tell, I watched a lot of TV growing up, but like these anti-smoking campaigns, especially like by what was it, Truth, like they worked. They made our generation not want to smoke cigarettes at all. We saw what cigarettes did to people. We heard the warnings. We watched those commercials, and nobody wanted that. So they just changed the look, changed the language, changed the experience, but kept the same core. And I'm not even sitting here like blaming everything on companies, because at the end of the day, I still made my own choices. I still picked it up. I still kept going to the gas stations, and I still kept buying a new vape. But I do think it's important to acknowledge how easy it is, to fall into it and to fall back into it, especially after you decide to quit. How normal it feels, especially once you take that first hit. Look at me reminiscing. Ooh, I can actually feel it in the back of my throat. Ooh, I need to chill out right now. But, it didn't raise red flags the way cigarettes did. And now I'm just over here, like 5 weeks nicotine free, and I'm not even gonna lie. That wasn't easy. That's why I was like, I need to like chill out for a second. I could like feel that hit, because it's not easy. Not because I needed it to function, but I had quietly, made that a part of my day, like muscle memory, something I reached for without even thinking about it, something that was pretty much needed for me to be able to take a deep breath. And, here's what I've learned. I learned a lot of things don't really look like addiction at first. They look like habits, like routines, like small things that don't really seem like a big deal at first, until one day you don't even remember when it became a part of who you are today. And that's the real conversation we need to have. Not just about nicotine, but about anything that slowly integrates itself into your life without you fully realizing it. Because we weren't just told don't smoke. We were shown something else instead. Something that looked better, felt better, seemed safer. And a lot of us just walked right on into it. Not because we were careless, but because we trusted what we were seeing. When I was in college, I will say now they definitely say, that it causes, like it can cause, But when it first came into the market, when I was in college, I remember being in marketing classes and people doing their presentations on how vaping was a safer alternative to smoking cigarettes. We were trusting what we were seeing. And now it's like waking up a little bit, not in a judgmental way, just becoming more aware that it's the same cycle. These vaping companies, guess who their parent companies are? The tobacco companies. They're the same, right? Like, oh, this is what it actually is. And I don't regret my experience because it taught me something about myself, about my habits, about how easy it is to pick something up and how intentional you have to be to put something down. And maybe that's the part where we can, carry forward and be able to move on, because we realize it's not about being perfect, not about pretending we never did anything or tried anything, that held us back. I mean, vaping might not have even necessarily stunted anything or held you back or been an obstacle. It just might have been hard being able to put it down, realizing it's probably a good idea if you stop now instead of waiting for the right time. When is there a right time to do something that's good for you? If not now. So it's just being able to understand and moving different because of it. And hey, if you're sitting here and this is hitting somewhere you didn't expect to be, you ain't even got to say anything. And I want to thank you for taking the time to sit with me and ponder on this. I appreciate you. And if you made it all the way here, you're not just watching. You're a grateful heart. I love you, and I'll sit with you in the next one. Peace.